welcome back to the Power Choice series here on the Success Beyond Strategy podcast. If you are just tuning in to the series, I highly recommend going back. I have an intro episode. This is the third after the intro. So there's a health and wellness focus as well as a boundaries episode all around the choices that we make, the choices I made around my health and wellness, choices I've made around my boundaries and how they've changed since then. Also, as I'm recording this, I have my puppy with me, so be warned, you might hear some squeaking in the background. That's her. It's fine. It is what it is. It's part of the life when you are on the road and traveling and honestly recording. So she also, if you're on YouTube, you might peek her head up over my shoulder. Anyways, so today I'm excited because we're on episode 3 of Power of Choice. And I'm kind of diving in. I'm using this series as a blend. One, to support you, to share with you about the choices that we have to make in our life, the choices we get to make in our life. Then also using it to share my own story, to share with you what's been going on, what's happened in my life journey overall. And I've actually really enjoyed opening up because these are things that I haven't shared on the podcast. I have shared with friends, some that are only close and some others, but I'm using this opportunity to show you the examples, show you what it might look like in your life when you're making these choices. And today we're going to dive into my spiritual journey and the spiritual choices I've made throughout my life, as well as the choices that I didn't make. And it's an okay thing because growing up as a child, in your childhood, you most likely did not get to make all the choices, but those choices that were even made for you impact you into who you are today. So this episode, I just want to preface, I probably should have prefaced this in general with this entire series, that one, I want you to leave judgment at the door. And when I say that, I mean the judgment of yourself, because voices are going to come up and tell you like, well, why did you do that? And why did she do that? And X, Y, and Z is going to pop up in your head. And I really want you to shut that door. If you listened to last week's episode on boundaries, talk about the fence, put the fence up, do not open the gate, and do not let those judgments come in, whether it's for yourself or even for me. And honestly, there might be a little bit of judgment out there as I share some of this stuff. And that's okay. I'm putting my fence up and not letting the judgment come in and affect me. But you need to do the same thing for you, for your own voice in your head that might be judging those beliefs and those thoughts are coming up as you're listening to these episodes. So this is also not just for this episode in general. The second thing I also want to bring up is comparison. We all are going through our own journey, and that is something that, I mean, for me, social media scrolling can be a big comparison hole I put myself into. These episodes, me opening up, you might start comparing yourself to that. You might be, in some ways, comparing your own journey to what I've been going through. Please don't let that affect you. Again, put up the fence. Listen to what I have to say. Listen to my experience. And my goal is hopefully this is motivating you and inspiring you. I don't want to turn this into a comparison game. That's not what this is. So without further ado, let's dive into my spiritual journey after all that seriousness. So I'm going to start just like I did with my health and wellness journey and go all the way back to childhood. And I'm not going to dive too much into details, but I did grow up religious. I grew up in a household believing in God. I grew up in a household, we were Episcopalian, and I went to church every Sunday, or most Sundays. I'm not gonna say all the time, especially when in the gymnastics world, we were traveling on weekends, but we went any Sundays we were in town. Obviously Christmas, the holidays. As a child, I was in the little children's choir. I would go to nursery. I was a part of supporting the nursery and watching the kids. I was an acolyte. I was a crucifer. I got baptized when I was a very little baby. And I also went through confirmation. Many of those things were not per se my choice. My parents made them for me. Just like your parents made choices for you on whether you went to church or you didn't, whether you traveled or you didn't, whether you did this activity or you didn't. Those are choices that you didn't really get to make and be a huge part of. And maybe in some capacity, in some little way, you did, but not fully. And I say that because I didn't make those choices. None of those are really bad choices for me either. And I got to see this entire world of what it was like to be in the church, what it was like to grow up religious, what it was like to be a part and put my time and energy into something that I knew my parents loved and I knew was very connected. And to be honest, when I graduated high school and college, I found a church in my college town. I went to that for at least 1 or 2 of the years. And then when I graduated from college, I moved to Texas. And for the first year and a half, again, I made the choice to go to church still because it was habitual. It's what I knew, it's what I'd grown up with. And then I got to a point where this is where my health and wellness journey really starts to overlap, let's just say, with my spiritual journey. So if you haven't listened to that episode, go back. I'll link it down in the show notes as well. But what happened is I got so busy with work that I stopped going to church. And I moved to Virginia. There was a church literally next door. Like right beside me was actually an Episcopal church next to my hotel. I didn't go, never went. When I moved to Nashville, I never went. Right now, I still really don't go. I share this though because the choice I made was to put work first. I did that before my health. I did it before spiritually, kind of that journey and figuring things out. But what I knew is I had gotten to a point that I didn't know I was old enough. I was 23, 22, 23, 24, somewhere in there, that for so long I had been going to church and grew up religious, but I didn't really know what I believed in. And instead of making the choice to go down the path and dive deeper into that and start discovering it, I just made the choice to keep working and to overwork myself and to put myself in a whole different hole of burnout and exhaustion and just left that on the side. I didn't even care. I just was like, nope, I'm not going to figure that out. I don't need to know that. It's not important. And to say the least, that's changed a lot since that time. It also, for me, I think really affected the fact that I didn't address it, the fact I did not discover and start to go down the path of discovering my spiritual journey. Like, what did I believe in? All I knew is I believed in a higher power. I believed that there is something bigger than me, something that I still make my own decisions, I still make my own choices, but there's something bigger in this world that is keeping us going. Time, our energy, that is influencing us in some way that we don't know. I knew I believed in that, and I leaned on it. I still would go to church with my family. I would have discussions with some other people. And it was 2 years ago. Guys, 2 years ago really changed my life. I went into the room of Powerhouse. I saw these possibilities, and I had hired on a life coach. And with my life coach, all of a sudden, we started doing this inner work. And I turned inwards and we met my inner child and kind of worked through some of those things. We worked through fears. We started to work through worthiness issues. And I still didn't really know what I wanted to do or what I believed in. But it was like that dipping of the toe. And then I attended Christine Monroe's, so she's out in Denver. This is December of 2023. I attended her event. And all of a sudden was like plunged into breathwork and Reiki and more inner child work and the idea of rapid rewire method and meditation and like all of these things. And I was like, oh. And what it all did was made me, for once, instead of looking externally for answers, looking externally for what I should do, what I could do, I went inwards. And that's obviously, if you've listened to the other episodes, if you heard my story, a lot changed. I mean, beginning of 2024, I put my notice in, I left my corporate job, I went all in entrepreneurship, and I just went on this whole roll. So that entire year of 2024 was like just discovering and trying things out and little things here and there and all the things. I made those choices. I made the choice to just little bit discover. And that's what I needed to do. I needed to play with it. I needed to have a little fun. I needed to get a little uncomfortable and put myself in situations that really kind of was the edges of my life and the edges I needed to ride for a little while to start figuring out, what do I believe? What do I want to dive deeper into? And the biggest thing that came from that was this idea that my intuition, my gut, whatever you believe in, can tell me things, that has answers for me and can help me make the right decisions, the right choices for myself. And so I've really started opening up more to that throughout 2024, trusting, what is my gut telling me? What is my intuition telling me? And I was so fortunate that I think it was like January, February of this year, so 2025, I found this event in Nashville, of all places. I had been gone for almost a year at this point, had never met these ladies. And I reached out because they were looking for a coordinator and they were willing to trade. So I was at the point that I was like, I want to be in your room. I'm an event coordinator. I would love to somehow be a part of this. And what it was called is Soul Word Summit. All these people, and the names I'm throwing out, by the way, I'll put in the show notes, like if anything stands out to you, because one, Soul Word Summit's happening again this year, or this coming year in March of 2026, I believe. And in this, at this event, I all of a sudden was immersed into a world of people who were following their intuition, who were connected to this higher power, to the universe, to God. I mean, they believed in so many different things, and it was all welcomed. It didn't matter who you believed in or what you believed in and how. It just mattered that, like, there was this belief of something bigger. And I started to sit there realizing that I don't have to put a name to it right now. I get to choose if that's what's holding me back. I get to choose if putting a name that it's God, it's the universe, it's a higher power, whatever you believe in, I get to make that choice that that's what's holding me back from going down my spiritual journey. And so I got to meet all these people, and one person in particular, Crystal, I walked in the room and was just gravitated towards her. And she is a psychic, and not like one that I've ever heard about. I've never really been to a psychic, nothing like that. That is just not been my cup of tea. But I knew in that room that my intuition was so strong, and I wanted to learn how to listen to it better. I wanted to learn how to be connected to it more. And after talking to Crystal, it just felt like the right thing to do. She was the right person for me, at least for right now. Because I wanted for once to not label whatever this was, but I wanted to start actually discovering and dive into my spirituality, dive more into myself. It's where I learned the word intuitive leadership, which will come up in future episodes. And so I made the decision in March to hire her on as my mentor. I, again, never had worked with a psychic before. And it is now July when I'm recording this. I met with her in March/April, I think once each of those months. And I started working with her more full time in May. And I have been blown away. I have been blown away, not just at her, but at the tools, at the resources, at her guidance, and how can I drop out of my mind and drop back into my body. Because what I am learning for me, for my spirituality, is the fact that there is a higher power that is influencing, that is guiding us, that is there supporting us. And all of that, all the energy that is coming from that higher power is being channeled through us. It is in us. It is not externally. It is not that is like the higher power is the thing. And sorry, I'm probably going in a rabbit hole with this, but this has been my experience, and I still don't fully know. I still don't fully know truly what I believe, aside from there's a higher power, aside from there is something that is influencing my energy to be able to show up. It's influencing me to be able to pour into somebody else, to be able to give to somebody else, but also to be able to receive. But it's all inside of me, those answers are. And I have so much gratitude for Crystal for just the 3 months we've been working together, or 2.5 months we've been working together, because I can now pause. I can now drop from my mind that's racing, that wants everything linear, and drop into my body and realize, well, what is my body telling me? What is that higher power bringing into my body and telling me about this decision, about what I need to do next, about X, Y, and Z? That has been my experience, but it was me finally making the choice back in March to start down and really digging deep in this. And I am still in the midst of it. So much so in the midst of it. And I'm okay with that. I am okay with that because I now have evolved. I already was evolving in February and March and April. And I feel like even more is coming from this. And I am learning so much more about myself, so much more about the world around us energetically. I am learning how to be able to show up fully as myself and trust myself, build that self trust back into myself for this. And I have so much more to say. And also no words at all because I am in the midst of it. I am still figuring it out and I don't have answers. And I don't need to have answers. And right now I share this because you might be listening into this realizing maybe you don't have answers either. Or maybe you do and you know what you believe in, that you believe in God, you believe in the universe, you believe in a higher power. Again, whatever you believe in, that you know that. And you are so grounded and so whole because of it. And now you're getting to just play in it and discover it even more. And I challenge you to make that choice. I challenge you to look at the choices that you've made, the choices other people have made for you, and determine, have you made the choice to just keep doing what you've always been doing, keep doing what you've always been told, the shoulds, and choose to just keep going down that path? Or maybe you're looking back now at your own spiritual journey. And this doesn't even have to be your spiritual journey. Maybe this is your health and wellness journey. And maybe this is your career and your job and your business. But looking back and realizing that you're still doing all the shoulds, that you're still going down a path and choosing to go down that path for somebody else, but it's not really for you. And taking the leap and making the choice to maybe go after and start discovering even little baby steps, what is actually right for you. Maybe what do you believe in? And maybe you don't know right now. Maybe that job's not right for you. So maybe like discovering, is there something else that lights you up even more? Maybe this health and wellness journey you're going down because you were told to is just no longer aligned. I challenge you, like I do in every episode, just take a look. And for my spiritual journey, I am so proud of myself for stepping back and going down a path that really no one else around me has gone down until meeting some of the people from this last year. And also opening myself up to listen to others and hear, what do they believe? What has been their journey? What has been their experience? And there's no judgment. There's no questioning that, oh, well, now, am I doing the wrong thing now? But honoring what they've been going through, honoring their experience, and honoring my own as well, as I'm still in discovery mode, and being open to share that versus conforming in a room if it is brought up, and not just saying, oh yeah, I go to church, or oh yeah, I believe in God, or just, even if it's not said in that way, you just get in the conversation. It's not conforming into that, but just stepping back and not saying anything, or stepping back and being honest, staying true to yourself that you really don't know and you're still discovering right now. And that's okay too. But you get to make that choice. You get to make the choice to keep doing what you've always been doing. You get to make the choice to conform. You get to make the choice to go down your own path. You get to make the choice to start trusting yourself and trust that your journey right now is what it's meant to be for a reason. Those choices are so powerful. Those choices are what have really, really impacted my life the last 2 years. And so I challenge you to look back again. It's a little different every time, looking back a little differently, but do it and see what happens and see what comes from that. I hope, I know I went down a rabbit hole, but I hope this kind of gave you an example. And again, this is another vulnerable episode, going back to my health and wellness episode that I did too, that just really is not something I've shared. And some of you who know me might not really have known about all of this. I do still pray. I do still do some of those things, but I am also still discovering that, I should say. And I am honored to be on this journey with many of you. I am honored that you are listening in to these episodes, this series. If you have people in your life, again, I'm going to say this at the end of every episode. If you have somebody in your life right now you feel needs to hear this, who you feel could be motivated by it, who could be inspired, who maybe just needs to hear it from somebody else that's not you, then please share it. Please share the episode with them. And also to get this in front of more people, if you would be so kind, again, I am learning to receive more and more and ask to be able to receive. If you could leave a 5-star review as well as a little just message in that. I read all of my, all of the reviews and stuff that come in, whether that's Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen. So I am just so grateful for you. I cannot wait for the next 2 episodes. There are 2 more in the series before we take a pause and probably jump into another one. But I am just so excited, so grateful, and I look forward to seeing you all next week on Success Beyond Strategy, the podcast.